Pac-Man World Re-Pac. I have to start this thing off by talking about the most epic intro I've ever seen in a game. Now this starts with a lovely birthday party. You see some ghosts talking and then they start messing with a dog and then they drop him down a hole. They seem to be happy about it. I'm not sure why. Maybe they want to make another ghost. Up next we see Dig Dug and a baby joyfully getting the party ready. Oh my God, they've been crushed! Well, that's a little intense. 2 more ghosts, I guess. Then they decide to mess with an old man by making him dizzy by putting on strange glasses. I'm not sure how that's going to work, but at least the ghosts aren't murdering him. Now it cuts to a child fishing, and the ghosts pull him down and drowned him. There's not a lot of vagueness here. This was just straight up murder. Then they decide to show Miss Pac-Man all alone, and it cuts away before we see what these ghosts do to her. Pac-Man comes home and it looks like the place has been ransacked, and the ghosts fly away in a hot air balloon for some reason, and spread out flyers on their way out. Murder and littering? These ghosts are hardcore. Pac-Man jumps to the conclusion that these two events are related, even though there's really no reason to think so. Or maybe he didn't care about his family being missing, and he's just pissed that someone's using his name and likeness to promote a party. I was dumbfounded about how crazy this whole cutscene was, and I instantly decided to buy this game. Now, to be clear, after I used all my coupons, it took the game down to a little over $2, so it's not exactly breaking the bank. Looking back though, I think I should have waited until I went past the first minute of video, because all the murders were backtracked a couple minutes later to they were captured. But that's not clear at all when you're watching this. Now, to be fair to the original game this is a remake of, it had a much different, less vague opening. In fact, you could actually see them being captured. It's actually done in a different way. So they didn't actually remake the intro the same way. Overall, I like the remake's cutscenes better. The one thing the original cutscene had that was better was that it had voice acting. The original game had it, so why doesn't this? It's just gibberish voices. Now this game itself is a 3D platformer, and in those types of game it's all about the camera and controls. The camera did have its issues, but it was not the biggest problem. The controls were. It would not jump some of the times I did it, and the Littlest Reviewer verified that, and he noticed the same thing. He said that there was input lag, and you kind of needed to do these actions before you thought you needed to, so you had to jump earlier than you expected. This is unacceptable, especially with a game that has a live system and some precise jumps. I died many times to missing a jump or it not bouncing when I hit the button. The game though does give you a lot of checkpoints, to be fair. The level designs themselves were sometimes boring to look at and gameplay wise were not entertaining. Then occasionally you would see some interesting ideas or great set pieces. Sometimes the levels would go on way too long. This was a huge issue if you're low on lives. There was a level where I swear it had to have been going on for 25 minutes. After 10 minutes while I was in it, I kept saying, this has to be over soon. And it just kept going. There's a bonus collectible when you spell out the word Pac-Man. It's a good indicator where you are in the level. And I was losing my mind when I saw it was only at the M and the level was still going. Since this is a remake of the previous game, I really can't blame the people who made this one. It was just a bad gameplay design, the PS one that the game is based on. They have mazes you can go through, which is more like the classic Pac-Man gameplay. And I liked how when you would get bigger, the hallways would push out of the way. It was a fun detail. The problem was that the mazes, while they each had a different gimmick, it was basically just the same thing to get all the pellets and eat all the ghosts, and it got old fast. Now, I really liked the boss battles in the game. They were varied and creative. There are sections that are more difficult than they should be. Like a boss battle where it becomes a bullet hell shooter. The Littlest ended up beating that for me, since I suck at those games. He said he played a lot of Undertale and he's used to it, but I thought the change in tone and difficulty in a 3D platformer was very odd. There's an easy mode, which basically lets you jump higher and puts blocks out so you won't fall off the many perilous jumps they have. You can turn it on at any time, but you can't turn it off until you finish the level. And it will not record your score. It will also ask if you want to turn on easy mode if you die too much. And it's a little insulting, like, are you sure you don't need me to hold your hand? Now, to be fair, other Nintendo games do this too, but it felt like more salt in the wound since a great deal of those deaths were because badly placed camera angles, bad shadow placement for jumps, or twitchy controls. Pac-Man World Re-Pac was not great. It had potential if the levels were more interesting and the controls were better. I never played the original game on my PS1, mainly because the only reason I bought a PS1 was to play Lunar. Same thing for the PSP. I would just skip this game. Even at the low price of $2, I doubt I would ever play this again. You know, this might have actually been better as a 2D game, but as a 3D one, it was just a bad experience. If you played the original and enjoyed it, most likely you will like this too. But if you have no history with this, there is no reason to play it, so you should just skip it.